This video explains some of the similarities and differences between ga and wa, which are two of the most important particles of Japanese. As for the differences, I will specifically talk about the different connotations that these particles have. Let's start with the similarities. Since the similarities are not very interesting, this section is going to be brief. First of all, both ga and wa usually indicate the subject of a sentence. What this means is that ga and wa normally indicate what or who the sentence is about, as well as who performs the action described in the sentence. So when I say Ken ga hashitta or Ken ran, the person who performed the running action is Ken, and Ken is marked by the particle ga. In this example, ga can also be replaced by wa, as in Ken wa hashitta, but this doesn't change the fact that it is Ken who ran. Another important similarity is that both ga and wa can be omitted in casual speech. For example, Ken hashitta is a possible sentence. If more than one noun appears in a sentence, the word order usually determines who is the doer and who is the recipient of the action. For example, in the sentence, Ken Taro nagutta, it will be quite unnatural to assume that Taro is the one who punched Ken. Of course, sentences like this one, where no particle is present, are not very common in real life and can be very confusing, so be sure to add at least one particle in your sentence to prevent misunderstandings. Now, let's move on to the differences. One of the main differences between ga and wa is that ga has a very narrow focus, whereas wa has a wider focus. This difference can be very subtle, and it is very difficult to explain without resorting to the use of technical terms. However, I want this video to be accessible to people without any background in linguistics, so let's anthropomorphize these particles and contrast their personalities. If I were to anthropomorphize these particles, ga would be a somewhat overconfident, self-assertive person who prefers to communicate in a direct and matter-of-fact fashion. Whereas wa would be someone who often compares themselves to other people and talks in an indirect manner. Now, let's examine some example sentences and see what ga-san and wa-san mean when they utter those sentences. First of all, let them introduce themselves. Let's start with ga-san. Watashi ga ga desu. And now it's wa-san's turn. Watashi wa wa desu. You would normally introduce yourself like wa-san did, using wa. Then why don't Japanese people use ga instead? If I say watashi ga koumei desu, what I'm implying is that no one else here goes by the name koumei. Therefore, what I'm really saying is, it is I who go by the name koumei. So the focus of this sentence is on the one person who has this name, and the purpose of this sentence is to establish who has the name koumei. We don't care about other names, and we don't care about other people. For this reason, this sentence would be an appropriate response to the question, "Dare ga koumei desu ka?" or "Which one of you is koumei?" rather than "Anata no namae wa nan desu ka?" or "What is your name?" Let us resume the self-introduction. Ga-san and wa-san are going to tell us their favorite food. Ga-san says, "Toriniku to butaniku ga suki desu," or "I like chicken and pork." And wa-san says, "Gyuniku to ramuniku wa suki desu," or "I like beef and lamb." Now, what does each of them mean? If you say "Toriniku to butaniku ga suki desu," you are simply listing the things you like. So the focus of this sentence is on the items you're listing and nothing else. On the other hand, if you say "Gyuniku to ramuniku wa suki desu," you are listing the things you like, but you are also implying that there are some other things that you don't like. So you might as well be saying "Gyuniku to ramuniku wa suki desu ga hoka no niku wa kirai desu," or "But I don't like other types of meat." Oh, wait, ga-san and wa-san are fighting because they don't like the same things. Ga-san tells wa-san, "Anata ga kirai desu," or "I hate you," and wa-san responds, "Anata wa kirai desu." What do they mean exactly? If I say "Anata ga kirai desu," I am saying that it is you that I hate. I may or may not hate someone else who is not here at the moment, but that doesn't matter because you're the person I hate. In other words, "Anata ga kirai desu" would be a good answer to the question, who do you hate? On the other hand, if I say "Anata wa kirai desu," I am implying that I happen to hate you and I'd rather be hanging out with other people. Therefore, "Anata wa kirai desu" would be a good response to "What do you think about me?" This is the end of this video. Let me know if you have any comments or requests, and see you next time.